Hey, how's it going, Robert?
Not too bad. How are you this evening?
Not too bad. Nice day in the 80s, sun shining. Don't get many days like that.
Definitely don't. So, everyone, this is Robert back with Dynamis Pod, and I'm on the seating with Jeremy Hossler. And Jeremy has been in the industry for quite some time. And I'm going to go ahead and just allow Jeremy to go ahead and introduce himself to everyone, and then we're going to get moving.
Hello, everybody. Name's Jeremy Hossler. I've been in the industry since 1994. So I've been doing it for quite a while. Started all the way from the bottom, changing tires, mowing the grass at the shop, washing the boss's car, whatever it took to get in. I worked up oil changes to alignments to on a service rack to service writer and all the way up to business owners.
Very nice.
Every job there is.
Very nice. What age were you when you got into the industry itself? You said 1994. So how old were you?
I was 15.
15 years old?
Yep.
So a lot of
my mom had to drive me to work for a while.
Right, exactly. So a lot of like push brooms and all that kind of thing, like you were saying, like mowing the grass at the shop.
Yep. I started in a tire store. The first day was mounting and dismounting the same tire all day long. The next day was balancing, and then after that was inventory and putting tires away. And it was a good 2 weeks before you really got to start doing anything. But even then, it was just tires for a long time. But there was no TPMS. There was no nothing. 16-inch wheel was a big wheel. So
exactly. So when you were doing that, right, exactly. When you were doing that, you said a couple weeks, like how long did the mentorship go on?
There wasn't so much a mentorship. It was, I started, the guy come out, boss showed me how to dismount and mount a tire like 3 times and said, here, come get me when we're done for the day. So that's what I did from the time I got off school till they closed at 5:30. So it was the same tire on and off all day long.
All day long.
Got a good reputation. So old
exactly.
Post style changer, not even a rim clamp, nothing. It was post.
Yeah, that was the next question I was going to ask you. Did you do it wasn't even the kind of, it was like automatic where you just push the buttons down or hold the pedals and that kind of thing. It was like actually putting it on, mounting it, by hand, and actually taking it on and off by hand.
Oh yeah, everything. Take it, you throw it on there, grab your spin nut, boom, spin it down, then grab the bar out, smack it down, bend your hand once or twice, shove it in the thing, pull your bar over, pop the tire, stick it in there, flip it over, you hit the pedal, it go around, do it again, it go around, set it down, put it back on, tighten it up. Same thing over and over and over.
Over and over. They probably figured if you were okay with doing that all day long, that you was pretty much set for, being in the automotive industry, right?
Well, when I started, they actually took bets on how long people would last. So, and I think by the time I was done there was only one person that was there when I started. So I outlasted them all. So
yeah, I've seen that before. I was at a Goodyear store for a while, so similarly, but not quite that, sadomasochistic. We had a guy that showed up, and that's what we hired him to do, was general service work, and he started I don't know, it was like 8:00 in the morning, I think, on one day, and at noon we never seen him again. He left for lunch and then never came back. So
we had a few.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you end up seeing a couple guys that end up doing that. It's like, oh yeah, I want to do this, and then once they actually see where all the hard work part of it comes in, it's like, nah, I'd rather not go ahead and do that no more. I'll go find something else to do.
It was a fantastic job though for a young kid trying to get in the industry. I mean, busted my butt, did everything I could, everything they asked. That was my entry in because I always wanted to work on cars. So
exactly,
passion. So I'm a car nut, an absolute nut. That's all I do. People talk about vacations. For me, it's something car related.
Exactly. Do you do a lot of like hot rod stuff where you're at? Do you do any car shows? Do you go out to that kind of thing as far as like the leisure part of it?
Everything. Power Tour actually was just down the road from us this week, in Fort Wayne. So it's every chance I get, it's at a car show. Saturday, I'm going to the Gilmore Museum in Hickory Corners, Michigan, and me and my wife are going to drive Model Ts and learn how to start them, and we're going to spend all day driving Model Ts. So, there's my vacation.
Exactly, yeah.
Take a car and drive it around in the rain. It's going to be awesome.
Now, the Model Ts, are they the ones that's got the Spark Advance actually on the column also?
Yep. No gas pedal.
Yep. Like a tractor.
You have your timing, your throttle, everything's right there on the steering wheel, and
Right.
no gas pedal and clutch lever or the lever on the side. It's a very primitive machine.
Exactly. Yeah, it's like driving a tractor.
Yes.
I tell students about that quite a bit because I like the historical part of the automotive industry as well.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember reading about that kind of thing, and I'm like, yeah, there's vehicles out there that like the Spark Advance is not automatic, and it's definitely not driven by a computer. Like, well, what is it? And I'm like, it's a Model T, like it's an old Ford, and that's how they were. That's exactly what you did with them. That was how you drove the vehicle. Like you said, it's very primitive. Yeah. How about like Six Summer or like Tom Bailey or any of that kind of stuff? You into that?
Yes.
The drag and drives and whatnot.
Speed nut. I mean, I got a couple LSs, a big old 88 millimeter turbo to go on something sometime, but
Right.
yeah, I'm big into speed. I had some really fast. I had a farm truck before farm truck, so
Exactly.
big old long bed
Right.
Chevy truck, nitrous, big block, hidden everything. One of the fastest trucks around. But even for back then, I mean, a 12-second car or 11-second car was a really fast street
Yeah.
car. Now that's a minivan.
Exactly. That's true.
The power and the knowledge to make that power surpassed me up so fast.
Yeah, the
For
laptop age.
Yeah, 550 horsepower was like, you can't get no more. There is no more to get out of this motor other
Right.
than nitrous or something like that. And now these guys are just insane. I love Richard Holdner, all the guys with power. I know Bryant Goldstone, all them guys, Mike Roy, they're local to us. So the street race scene I was pretty heavy into it back in the day, back in the 90s and early 2000s. So we had some of the fastest street cars in the world around us. So, these guys that talk about them, like, no, Mike Roy drives his car, Bryant drives his car, like they are 6-second beast cars. And yeah, they drive them even when there ain't an event going on. So
there's
guys are so
I watch a lot of Steve Morris race engines also that's up here in Michigan.
Mm-hmm.
They're big into the drag and drive stuff also. And I didn't even know any of that stuff existed, to be honest. I had just about 2 years ago, I'd seen maybe something that went down with they sold Cletus McFarland. Of course, Garrett bought a SMX and put it in mullet. And I was like, oh, that's pretty neat. And it's drag and drive. I'd never heard of it. And I'm like, okay, they're doing that now, right, with drag racing. I was like, oh, okay, that makes sense. Something to do. You get to go have fun with your friends. It's not exactly like, the old drag racing scene where it was go and break a bunch of parts. It was like, hey, let's go and go have, fun. Let's go fast. Let's haul a trailer somewhere and hang out for a while, all the different stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I've got my wife literally hooked on it now. She's watching all that stuff with me. And it's like, it's amazing how interesting it is to her to see that kind of stuff and be like, oh yeah, I think that would actually be pretty fun. And it's like, well,
it's a blast. Everybody's awesome on there too. Like everybody helps each other. Now some of the fast people, they have their set stuff, but most of the guys are super cool. I missed out because of 2 fuel fittings from racing my 69 Chevelle on drag week. So, but even then it was maybe 960 horse total with the nitrous, but it still would have been fun because I drove it, beat the crap out of it, and it didn't break. It was reliable. So
exactly.
I think if I could have made it all week, I think I would have ended up second in the class I was going to run simply because all the really fast guys broke. So that would have been really cool. That'd be really nice.
It ends up coming down to the luck of the draw, right? It's exactly that. Like you said, there's a really good chance you could have actually won.
Yeah. Sometimes it's not the fastest guy. It's the guy whose car lasts. So
you have to make it to the end.
Yeah, I build cars that typically last, but my builds now are nothing compared to these guys. I mean, we got a guy close to us, Rob Sanders over at Trick Tuning. Wow, like these guys can tune some insane. Like there's so many record holders near me. It's not even funny. And I watch these guys like Kleppinger and all them. They're driving their cars to work every day. You see them at Dairy Queen. It's like, most people wouldn't even realize, oh, hey, that car runs 7 seconds in the quarter mile, 200 mile an hour. And he just
sounds a lot. Yeah, exactly. It sounds a lot like how I grew up. There were some guys that were local that grew up, around my dad and everything. And that was what they had. They had some pretty nice hot rods. Nothing that went quite that fast. They had built some door slammers for some people. They, of course, did a lot of chassis fab and whatnot. But yeah, it's amazing. Like that whole scene is like how I grew up, probably exactly like you grew up as well. Have you always lived in Fort Wayne, or is there any other states that you've lived in? Or
I was born in West Virginia, so most of
okay,
my family lives in West Virginia. I got some family in Ohio, but my parents and them, we all live in Indiana. So I've been here since '85. So
I
I've been
see.
here a while, but I spent a lot of time back in West Virginia and got a love for Tennessee and Florida that just won't quit. Can't tell. I'm a big Disney nerd. Me and my wife,
Yep.
that's our passion. Big Disney nerds.
Yep. So you said lived in West Virginia. You said you got some family in Ohio. You've been in Indiana. The Disney, is that the only place that you guys end up going on vacation in, or?
It's where we try, but the prices are just
Yeah.
little harsh. My wife has family in Ocala, Florida,
Okay.
which to me is like the best city on the face of the planet. Everything about it I love. I love the heat. I love all that stuff. So
hmm
an hour from everything. Like you're an hour from the beach on both sides. You're an hour from, manatees, you're Orlando, everything is right there. So to me, that to go down on a Christmas and walk around in shorts, seeing icicle lights hanging from palm trees, to me is just, I'd love to be able to work on my car in the wintertime. I mean, we got 7 months of winter here. So
Definitely.
yeah, it kind of sucks. So being a car guy, it really kills you.
Yeah, exactly. My wife actually was able to get, I don't know, it's probably 3 years ago now. We went down to December. That's when my birthday is. And she took me to Disney on like an adult trip. She'd been there a bunch when she was younger. And I'd never been there. Matter of fact, I don't think at that point I'd ever even flown on a plane at that point. And she's like, "Oh no, you'll love it." And we went and we pretty much stayed at Disney Springs. We went to like 4 of the different parks, the theme parks, but we were at Disney Springs quite a bit. Ended up kind of falling in love with like Morimoto, the Japanese and like fusion steakhouse that they have there. Believable food, especially for the price that they had. I mean, it wasn't really that expensive. It was like really, really good food though. Love going there. It's an amazing place. I was very surprised at how warm it was. Like you're saying, you could literally walk around in shorts, 70 degrees, no problem at all. And I'm not a shorts person, but it's definitely nice down there.
Oh yeah. Yeah. It's just something about, getting up at 5 a.m, going outside, working on the car till 11, and it starts getting really hot. And then you go back out at 9 when the sun's down. It's like starts to cool off. It's like, man, it's just, oh, them guys are so lucky. They're racing all year round. You got Don Garlitz down there, you got Bradenton, you got Cletus McFarland, all them guys down there. And it's just, they get to do this stuff all year round. So I spend my times on YouTube watching them guys do cool stuff down there. And I'm stuck here with 13 inches of snow on the ground.
Exactly. Now, the shop that you're at now, do you guys do any type of like custom work like that, or is it pretty much just all customer pay, like line stuff, or how does it work
Well,
there?
where I'm at now, actually, it started out as a car lot.
Okay,
And uh, the way they do cars is different than any other car lot I've ever seen. So he buys the cars and we fix everything. And I mean everything on them. We get a Honda Odyssey in, it gets timing belt, water pump, all the flushes, tires, brakes all the way around, shock struts. I mean, he tries to sell cars that, you don't have to do anything for a couple of years.
right.
So our typical car lot cars are 20 to 45 hour tickets every
Very
time. So it
nice.
started out, he had 8 bays or
hmm
5, 6 bays, and then he added on like 3 more bays, and he's got his own detail shop. And it was just guys fixing his cars. And then they got into doing a little bit of customer pay. And then he just we're building another 19 bay building across the street just strictly for customer pay.
Very
So
nice.
I'm on board. A couple of the guys I had worked with were basically Subarus. We rebuild hybrid batteries. They do
hmm
all kinds of stuff that I had never seen. This is cool to me. I mean, so at any given moment, we got 3 Subaru engines out because, the maintenance on the Subarus, head gaskets, timing chains,
Sure.
water pumps. So they all get that every time. With the customer pay, I'm going to help them set it up for efficiency and the cool stuff, in my opinion. Where's the bays go?
Exactly.
What parts do we need? What are we going to stock? That's the fun stuff for me. Anything about efficiency and workflow and stuff like that and getting the most hours out, that's kind of my passion. We're going to have
Exactly.
customer pay over there. We just bought a whole nother business doing like 4 city blocks, like all around us, all 4 corners. They own everything. So he just bought another shop. We just put in 6 bays in there, and we're going to put in a couple more bays. It's going to have 20 bays. So by the time we're done, we're going to have 45 bays plus a body shop, and it just expanding so fast and so quick. We've hired like 15 people in the last month and a half.
Wow, that's a huge growth there. Yeah, that's uncommon from what I've been seeing pretty
Yeah.
much everywhere at this point.
Yeah,
So pretty much like a city block, you said, like 45 bays, basically.
Yeah, we'll have 19 bays on one corner. We'll
Sure.
have 8 bays on across the street in the other corner. That's going to be strictly for car lot cars. So we got 3 full-time Subaru techs from the dealer. That's all they do is they just fix the Subarus that we have because they love Subarus. Rated #1 most reliable car this year. So we sell the heck out of them things. So we got guys that all they do 40-hour tickets on Subarus all day long, fix everything. So then the other one we're turning into strictly fleet. So we have big trucks in there that they do fleet work out of, like full box trucks, 59 chassis. I'm not big on the big truck stuff, but they do a lot of big truck stuff. And he has like a food truck building business, and the guy works harder than just about anybody I've seen, and he does not care to share it with anybody. So, and then on the other corner, there's another building there that we do like electronic hybrid battery replacements, but they're going to tear that down and build a whole new big building over there, put in like an 8-bay detailing shop. It's just crazy how big this place is going to be. And this is just one corner. I hate to see if he goes across town or something.
Exactly. We got in a conversation today, myself and another fellow instructor, about the EVs, and that's really good that you guys are trying to find a way to go into the battery packs themselves and find out which batteries are actually bad and replace them and put them back together, because that was where the conversation went. The gentleman told me, and he's actually retired right now, but he's come back to school to help out, and different times if somebody's off on vacation or whatnot, he comes back and he teaches a couple days a week. And he told me that there's a lot of junkyards out there that won't even accept the car. I said, what do you mean? I said, like the EV? He goes, yeah. He goes, EVs, he said, they don't accept them at all. He said, you actually have to pay them to get rid of the car because of the fact of the battery pack. And I'm like, is that really true? He's like, yeah. He says, there's a bunch of places that don't want nothing to do with them. So it is good that there's some places out there like your place that you're at that's trying to find a way to, keep the vehicle at least in service. That's pretty commendable.
Yeah, he loves Priuses. Like we do so many Priuses, and for us, like tearing a battery out and working on it, it's not a big deal. Well, it is for me because I'm not that smart on it. But we got a couple guys. We got a young guy there that he just loves them, and we got a couple guys that do them. So I've been trying to learn a little bit. It's kind of a little intimidating when you see all these battery packs all laid out, and it's like I'm still. When they come out, big gloves, you had the hook, you had all this other stuff.
Exactly.
So I'm still scared of it. So, just to have a big charge unit out of a hybrid the other day and then helping a guy put an ABS unit in there was like, okay, it's dead. Dead man switches out. So, yeah, makes me a little nervous. We had to go. The deal was he had to show me 3 different times that everything is disconnected before I stick my hand in there. But yeah,
exactly.
It's nice being somewhere that the guys ain't afraid to try something and do something. So I'm learning a lot.
Exactly. Yeah, it's good to be around people that want to, to push it further, like you're saying, and especially with the training aspect of it. So are you at this point, would you consider yourself hybrid aware? What kind of certifications do you have? Or is that what are they actually certified in the hybrid vehicles?
It's something I never really asked. I just know.
There's a lot of people
there a couple months. So
okay.
Still relatively new for me even. So like I said, all this stuff, they got like 15 people in no times. We're growing very fast, and I really haven't asked. I've been so busy because as it goes, I'm more like the mobile fix-all guy or the
I got you.
Oh crap, there's a problem. Can you bail me out guy? So I'm between the 3 different buildings, just wherever they need me. So
I see.
Kind of mobile tech-ish.
Sure. Like
I'm
mobile
a guy, I'll
tech
work outside,
adjacent.
I'll work anywhere. I don't care. Like it don't matter to me. I want 3 or 4 bays, but it's kind of tight on bay space because like as soon as I get my toolbox somewhere, we hired a guy. Okay, well, I'll go do this. And so I've been around, but man, I can't even catch people's names. It's coming so fast.
So on the vehicle side of it, what type of certifications do you have yourself?
I got the ASE Master certified, the L1, X1, which I think they got rid of one of them. I think they got rid of the undercar. I don't remember.
Yeah, I think the X one's not there now.
Okay,
So I just bought the book. I bought the book for L3 for EVs, and then I bought the book for L1 for motor age. Most of the stuff I end up getting is for motor age training. And I think I've had that book about 6 months now, and I've been studying for those. So I'm ASE Master with A9 designation also. I
think I got A9, I believe.
Yeah, diesel, light truck. It's diesel.
I might
light
have
truck
that one because I'm not super great at diesels. I know enough, but I try to tell people I don't know anything, so that way I don't have to work on them. The exhaust smell makes me sick to my stomach. It's just something about it. Gives me a headache. Like when a diesel runs inside a shop, I get a migraine, and I can't get rid of it. And if people know I can do anything on them, then I just can't work in a shop full of diesels like that. It's just too much on the headache side. So I mean, there's
a lot of people that don't like them for just that reason alone. Like you're saying, I always tell students, I'm like, never been really big on them. The only time I ever really got that deep into them was at Volkswagen, and the what would you call it? There's a lot of similarities between them and everything else, but it's like all I've ever done is light truck and auto diesel. So when it came up for me to go do it, I was like, yeah, I'm going to go ahead and take that one too. I'm pretty sure I got plenty of, experience with them, and I was able to pass it. I'm hybrid aware, but I've never had anything over and above a good, solid hybrid training, but not the actual part where you get your certification, right? So I've been not that deep into it, but I've learned a ton about it, especially teaching it, because we do teach EV, but it's a couple different parts of the course where we do maybe 2 or 3 days on it. And of course, the entire part of it is the safety aspect of it, right? That's what we really get into and stay into quite a bit, because the last thing I want is somebody to leave and go, well, I had this training and I can go do this now. And I'm like, no, that's not the way that training works. That training is, you need to take heed, because that vehicle can actually hurt you really, really bad. Not like the other ones can't, but like this one can do it in a way that is completely different than the others. And you need to make sure that before you go messing around with it, you need to go get additional training on top of what I just did. And I just explained to him, even what I just did is maybe saving your life, but it doesn't even get you into the ballpark of doing the hybrid aware. You don't get the certificate for that portion of it. So I try to explain that's where you're at. So you still need to do hybrid aware when you leave, which is not that difficult. I've had hybrid aware when Prius came out. A couple of years after they came out, I think I was at the Goodyear store. And because we were going to be doing oil changes and regular maintenance and brakes and stuff on them after they went outside of the warranty time, our boss was like, we need to get training on this. This is could be a dangerous thing. So let's get everybody at least EV hybrid aware. And that's what we ended up doing. So I've had that training a couple different times now, it looks like. So I've had like 2 or 3 of those over the years, right?
I think I've probably had 7 or 8 different EV training classes and stuff like that just over the years. There for a while, it would seem like training around us was pretty popular.
Yes.
It's kind of died off in the last couple years, but for the most part, not bad. John Thornton, now that he's retiring, that really sucks, because that's like one of my favorite guys to go to. And we had a bunch of guys that I just don't see that often, that I have like 190 different classes that I've taken over the years, got the books, and just insane amount of knowledge that these guys have. It just blows me away.
Exactly. Yeah, I've followed John Thornton for a couple of years now, at least. There's another guy out near us out here in Wyoming. He's over in Ogden, Utah, John Kelly at Weber State University over there. And that's pretty much what he does there. He does their EV program. He's really great to watch on YouTube. He's great to go and, get as many trainings as you can possibly get from him. And they run a outside place there where they invite people to come in and do the hybrid aware. Then they can do the other, it's like 3 different levels that you can get all the way to the end. And then a couple of years back, just after we'd gotten to Wyoming, my wife and I went back to Ohio for vacation, and I got to go up and spend some time with John Foro. I don't know if you're familiar with John Foro, but he's up in northern Ohio, kind of near Akron, and that's pretty much all he does. He's a trainer right now, I think, for Alltel, if I can remember correctly. But
Okay.
got to sit down with him and talk to him, and he was doing a training when I got there. And him and the guy that he was being paid to train, we all went and sat down and had dinner together and everything. And his training stuff, he actually builds tools. So I think a couple of his tools got some awards just about a year ago over in Motor Magazine for doing actually training and teaching the connector. So the port on the side of the car, and he's got the one that you can actually put into the port, and it will tell you if the port communicates and it's good. So he won some awards for that. But there's tons, like you said, Napa was doing it forever. World Pack Training was doing it forever. ATG, if I remember correctly, does training on
Yep.
that type of thing. There's a
I think
ton
that's
of
what
places
Thornton
that do training.
with.
Was ATG?
I think so. Back in the day, you had Linder Tech. I think it was Jim Linder, Bill Fulton. His classes were always really fun. I love the lab scopes and loved ignition scopes, and I just love that kind of stuff. But I got COVID, and it messed up my memory pretty bad there for a while. Like things that were easy is a real hard struggle for me. Like I really struggle with lab scopes. Like I can't even really set mine up, and I've been trying for months now it's just not coming back like I think it should. It really sucks because I was a big ignition scope guy. Like, oh look, snap, lean snap, and I was like, oh yeah, I can tell the pattern. I love a raster pattern, and I'm struggling with it. And then I watch guys like Brian Pollock and all these other guys. It's like, oh man, I feel so dumb sometimes. And it's like I just miss the simple things.
Yeah, that's true. The COVID stuff I've talked about on a couple different podcasts now, but it messed a lot of people up. I had it out here in Ohio. I never got it at all. Didn't wear a mask. Went and I was running my business during that period of time. That was really the reason that I ended up in that business, going to doing mobile work, was because of COVID. And I was in between and didn't want to go back and work for someone else at that point. I'd already had all this training. I'm like, oh, I can go do these things. I'm ASE certified. And then once I got that business, I'm like, well, I want to go ahead and go take my research, get that back to where it needs to be at, and then go take my other 4 so I could be at least mastering, maybe pass 3 of them. And I was luckily able to pass all of them. But the memory stuff, like once I got out here and I had COVID it was about 10 days. And it put me down. Like I seen white all the time. I couldn't hardly hear. It really affected me the same way. But luckily, it didn't mess with my memory so much. But when I had it bad. And luckily, the school was really good to me. The school took care of me. They didn't charge me anything out. Like I didn't have to use any of my PTO time. It was one of those things where I got here, I taught for 2 weeks, and I was done. Like I got it because I was around people that had been all over the country, and Wyoming didn't have any of the mask stuff. And it was basically like, it was the Wild West. It was Florida. It was Texas. It was the same way here. And they didn't have any of that. And of course, I ended up getting it. And like I said, I mean, it was rough. Like, luckily, it didn't have the same effect with the memory part of it, because I'd have really been stuck. I'm trying to teach students this kind of stuff, right? Because that's exactly what I teach. Is we go into doing, scopes, Snap-on. We're sponsored by Snap-on, so we do a lot of Snap-on stuff with the Modus. We have some Ethos. We've got a bunch of Tritons. We've got 4 Zeus on each side of the shop. So we deal with Zeus. We deal with the lab scopes.
Okay.
It's a lot of that kind of stuff, and it's like the scan part. So we do 2 different phases. So the first phase is basically all foundational things, DVOMs, DMMs, that kind of thing. And then we move up through Ohm's law and all that. And then we get over into that phase 2. And we take everything that they learned in phase 1 and we still apply it. But then we like pour on top of them diagnostic trouble codes and all that, go in and ground side circuit switching and transistors and drivers, and try to explain to them as deeply as possible all the way through. And like I said, luckily it didn't have the same effect on me, because I'd be in a really bad spot right now trying to show them those things. And I learned, like you just talked about, parade patterns and raster. I learned that kind of stuff on the cathode ray style tube machines. The Bear and the Sun.
Sun 2500, I think it was, or something like that. And then I ended up going up to the Master Tech 5100 to the 5200, which, I think is the best scope ever made on the face of the planet. I don't care what anybody says. I mean, Andrew Fisher agrees,
that one was
awesome.
Would that one be considered a digital storage oscilloscope? Because I'm not real familiar with that one. Is that like the Tech 2?
Same company that made
same company. Yeah. I think I've seen some of his posts, actually. I think I've seen Andrew's posts about those.
Yeah, and it'll show up all 8 on a row.
Yes.
It had a database. It took screenshots. I mean, it did things that no other scope did. It was basically like a Pico is now, but it was back in the
Right.
early 2000s, late 90s, that kind of thing. It was awesome.
Are you familiar with the e-scope?
Yeah, the little bitty handheld single channel. Yep. I have a Vantage
Oh, that's
Pro.
the so
No,
that's
am I
the
thinking of
U.
one? U-scope. That's
The
what I was thinking of.
Yeah, the
The
U-scope's like
E-scope with
a
the guy always
it's
wears
like the
blue.
yeah, it's like an 8 channel. They make an 8 channel. They got the e-scan. I'm not
Yeah,
exactly
yeah.
sure where that company's out of, but I tell you what, the product itself looks pretty good.
It
I've
looks
never got to
really
use
cool.
one. Yeah, I had a Pico scope when I got to school, and I ended up selling it to them. I had the 4425A, the one with the intelligent plugins. So when you actually
Okay.
put the BNCs on there, it would self-identify. It would try to set up auto for you, that kind of thing. And I ended up selling it to the school because they didn't have any of that kind of stuff when I got there. And we did finally get some test and measurement. So we got the Pico test and measurement 2 channel, 4 channel. Now we have enough to really teach and do a really good job of it, on top of using the Snap-on lab scopes. Like I said, we got 2 or 3 different 2 channels that we use, and then also we use the 4 channel on the Zeus. So
Yeah,
it works pretty good.
I got the Vantage Pro I use most of the time, and then I just got an 8 channel, but AS Wave sold out of, because I didn't have it because none of the Snap-ons BNC, so I had to buy all
Yes,
new leads,
exactly.
and like nobody's had leads in the last couple months, so it's like I buy one lead and then wait, and then buy another lead and wait,
Right,
and it's like crap. So I got this 8 channel scope that I haven't even got to hook up yet because I had one lead. So
right,
I just been waiting on leads, and I think I got a few now, but I haven't even got it hooked up to my laptop because I'm so busy at work.
right.
It's like I don't have time to play with it. I got 10, 11 cars a day some days, so I'm kind of rolling through it and then helping other people and stuff like that. So trying to relearn it all, it's like crap. It's
Exactly.
hard.
That's a really good segue into that, because that's what I was going to ask you, is the car count. So it sounds like you guys, like you said, you've grown quite exponentially, but also the type of work that you end up doing. What would you say, like the most types of work that you do during the day? Is it a lot of diag work? Is it diag heavy, or is it a lot of little bit of like a mix? Is it maintenance? Like what do you guys end up doing?
We have a couple guys that are a little heavier diag. We have one guy that's strictly Euro, but he's like top level Euro. This guy's like Euro genius, I guess you would say. So
Right.
you give him an Audi or Mercedes, I don't understand it. It's too smart for me. Here it's for you. So, and then we got
Just leave him
another
alone.
younger kid. Yeah, we got another younger kid who he's up and coming, but the kid's just so freaking smart. It's like, I wish I was that smart when I was his age, because he's going to be absolutely killer. But the kid's doing CAN bus stuff and like
Sure.
top level stuff. Cause I struggle really hard with CAN bus.
Yeah.
So I'm
A
more,
lot of people do.
yeah, I'm more like a black and white numbers guy. Like 1 + 1 =
Right.
2. Okay. CAN bus squiggle means I don't understand it. I don't know
Yep.
how radio waves work. It bothers me, but I can do okay voltage drop stuff like that. Ignition patterns, I can see it. It's telling me what it is. But CAN bus, it doesn't tell me anything. I just know, oh crap, it's supposed to be 2.5 volts. And then I've been there
Right.
since the beginning, so it's changed so much.
Oh,
Is it
yes.
two and a
Yeah.
half volts? What voltage is it? Can high, can low? And then I tried doing some classes for some guys, but
Hmm.
they're way past my brainwave. And it's like an hour and a half, 2 hour class. And I'm rewinding. I've got like 8 hours in, and I feel dumber than what it was when I started. Like,
Right. Yeah,
oh,
it's a lot. Yeah,
man.
it's a lot. And there's multiple speeds of CAN. There's all types of different things. There's LIN, there's LAN, there's all the, we teach flex array, we teach most. And some of this stuff is not something that they may never see, but I still like to actually teach that, because it's kind of the history of that side of the business, and I
Yeah.
think it's important that they at least get to see it.
Yep. Yeah. I love class. Anytime I can do any training, I absolutely love it. Typically my nights, or if I get off, I'm on. I just watched the two Scanner Danner with the Corvette. Like, oh yeah, there's my error,
Hmm.
and it's like, oh yeah, I seen the lean spike. Watching it, like trying to. My wife, I get kind of loud because I'm yelling at the TV, and
Right.
it's like, oh, I know what that is. I know what that is, and so I'm typically doing some sort of training somewhere, even when I'm not at work. So I'm a weird one. It's just,
Well, and you have to now. It's like things have
oh yeah,
changed so much, and I always continually have to tell like you have to go back to service information now because there's so much information. There's no way you can hold all of it. And the training aspect of it is you're always in training now. So with the complexity of the systems, I tell them all the time, it's like, okay, well, they've gotten a lot more easy to diagnose in certain ways because of the complexity. But when it doesn't work the way that you thought it was supposed to, the complexity ends up becoming kind of a foe and not a friend, right?
Oh yeah, even simple AC systems and power window systems, like the new power windows in the Subarus and the auto touch up down, amp draw, different voltages. Holy jeez! Like, and you
Yeah,
can't just take a switch out of another one and put it in because they have to be programmed, and like
all has
it's
to be adapted. Yep.
yep. It's a nightmare. Like a simple one window, left rear window wouldn't go down. I spent like 2 hours diagnosing this thing. Like I could get a lab scope out to figure out a window switch. Like,
Exactly.
come on, what happened to the days where you just grab a power probe and power ground? There we go. No,
Not
it's
anymore.
a 5-volt signal, not a 12-volt signal, and it's got a 9-volt resting. Like, what the heck is all this?
Mhm.
Come on, guys, making it so
Yep.
difficult.
Yeah,
So that's kind of
I
scary.
like hooking to we got a couple Fords at work, and I like hooking to the throttle, the TAC motors, the TAC motors for the throttle plate. The students will always jump on, oh yeah, I'm going to go see it. And I'm like, yeah, you got TP1, you got TP2, and then all of a sudden it's serial data. It's not what they thought it was going to look like, because we show them afterwards. I go and show them like, oh no, this is okay. Here's what it typically would look like on most vehicles now that are fly by wire, but that vehicle looks nothing like that. Like that's the computer talking back and forth, causing that to move. And they're just like, whoa, that's crazy. I'm like, yeah, that's what you're getting yourself into. Because like you said, you can't just use voltage, that way any longer. Now it's literally you're telling the computer what to do, and that's it. That's the end of it. That's the end of the human interaction. The computer does the rest of it.
It
So it's
used to be
definitely
simple.
interesting way more simple.
It was
But like I
5
said,
volts,
the
1.2.
complexity of it,
Has to be 3.8. That's how it
right?
has to be. That's the law. That's the way it works.
Yep.
Now
And
it's
it
like,
can't be like 0.1 off, right? Like that's the
yeah,
thing, and that's what I try to explain to them. Is like, if it says 3.8, that's what it's supposed to be. And if it's something different, then you have to get in there and find out why.
oh yeah. Oh, some of this new stuff, man. It's DVT, everything. Like I think they're getting a little too far ahead for some stuff. So just go back to basic and simple, and who
Right.
cares? The window doesn't work. The window doesn't work. You put a new relay in, or come on, let's not make all this crap. Like,
Yeah. When we get into communication, I like actually taking it all the way to kind of like where they're at with R&D, even like with
uh-huh.
Ethernet. And 1 gigabits per second speeds is what they're trying to aim for, and they've been working on it like 13 years. It's got an ISO number. You can go in and you can look it up. You can look at all the data. You can look at all the different scientific papers that they've written on it for SAE. It's pretty wild to go in there and look at it, and they're just like, whoa, that's what they're trying to do. I'm like, yeah, it's because they're trying to do autonomous. At some point, they want it to be hardly any latency whatsoever inside the vehicle, and then when it speaks outside of itself, right? So it's pretty wild to watch their faces. They almost kind of gloss over, right? It's like, no, like I got myself into this. Like, yep, you sure did. And this is the industry. Like you almost have to be a cable guy at this point and know Smith's charts and understand, waves bouncing back and forth inside that circuit in order to really work on the vehicle. Like you said, it's not just a power probe any longer. You can't just do it and hit the button and it fixes it. I remember the complexity comes along with like a Volkswagen's very similar with the safety windows. You can put your arm in it and hit the button, it'll go up. It sees the amperage spike, it immediately rolls it back down. They're like, well, how's that work? I'm like, well, if you have a scan tool attached to it, you can watch it. Like it literally will tell you if what's going on. If you have a window track that's bound up and it goes up so far and then goes into that safety and cuts back out, like you can go in and watch it do it. And you can use that system to run a test plan on it. So in that sense, it actually made it easier because you can go in and run the test plan, no scope needed, no anything. It's okay, well, it didn't go. I see what the voltages and the amperages are. Okay, now I know what I need, or a little bit of exploratory surgery and you can find it. Okay, well, here's where it's binding up at, that kind of thing. So it's pretty wild how far it's actually come.
Yeah, it's getting kind of neat. That Subaru was that way. It just knows, it looks at the amperage, it tells you the milliamps, and boom, at this milliamp draw, it stops, and that's where this limit is. So you have to set the limits anytime you disconnect the battery or anything, or your windows don't work. So you have to
Yep.
reprogram them. And that's how they're.
Yeah. That's it. Yeah, exactly. You have to literally reprogram it. You have to, like you said, like readapt and make sure it's, talks the handshake, right?
Yep. Yeah,
So you
that's
said you started in 94. So how many years ago is that? How long have you been in the industry?
a little over 30 years.
A little over 30.
Yep. I mean, I was working on cars before. I had a Camaro, I had a truck,
Mm-hmm.
I had a 48 Chevy. I had all this stuff back when I was like 13. So I'd
Exactly.
been working on cars, and my buddy across the street, his dad, they always working on cars. So we were getting our hands dirty anytime we could. I had one of my jobs was going around and pulling lawnmowers out of trash and
Mm-hmm.
taking them home, getting them running, and then I'd sell them for 15-20 bucks, which was a lot of money back then. So
Exactly.
it was my side gig. And then actually, when I was, I think 14, I started doing engine swaps and stuff for people for money. So I got in over my head a few times, but who
Sure.
wants to put a Buick 231 in a full size Chevy van? Hey, I'll do it. The crappy old 260 or whatever it was. It's like, oh,
Yep. Yeah.
Pontiac motors and Chevy trucks. Like, okay, we got into some
Exactly. Yeah.
weird
I'll go ahead and
things.
do
Like
that.
somebody wanted to pay, I'm up. Like, I'll try it. I'll do
Exactly.
anything. So
in the tool department in your place that you work at now, is there any, like, what type of really nice or what type of really good diagnostic tools do you guys have? You mentioned a couple of them. So you got some scopes, you've got some different scan tools, that type of thing. How about like FLIR cameras and all those types of other ancillary, like borescopes, whatnot?
most of the techs that we have,
Yes.
it's another one of them places where they didn't just hire the cheapest guys. Like,
Right.
we just stole the best guys. Like, everybody, like, there's 5 of us or 6 of us that got 8-channel scopes. So
Nice.
most of the techs have high-end stuff. We've kind of grown a little big, a little fast. So I know he just wrote a $250,000 check for tools. So
Yeah.
I don't want to say we're watching our nickels, but he spent a lot of money on all kinds of equipment. And if we need something, we just say it and he orders it. So first place, it's like, doesn't matter. Do you guys need it? Okay, order it. Like, get it coming. So we got like
Exactly.
3 or 4 AC machines and some of the new ones. And they got Autel scanners.
Sure.
I'm a big Snap-on guy. Another guy's got the Matco. Is it Determinator or?
Yeah.
He's
I
got one of
remember the
them.
Determinator. Yep.
Yeah. One of the guys got a Pico, and I think he's got a Top Don. So between all of us, we'll figure it out.
Yes.
We'll get it
It sounds like you got quite a really wide array of different tools. It sounds like.
Yeah.
That's also good to have a really good support system for an owner that, wants to actually do the best job possible. It sounds like so far that I've been talking to people, that seems like that's kind of upside down in this today's world when it comes to that, because it seems like people are upset about pay, or people are upset about hours, or people are upset about a lot of different things, or even types of pay, how they get paid. Is it on production? Is it on flat rate? That type of thing. Sounds like it's really nice that you got somebody that's like, here's what the goal is. Here's the end goal. Here's what we need to get. And, I don't mind spending the money to get there. That's definitely sounds the upside down compared to what everyone else is kind of going through right now.
Yeah. It's not about, for him, it's strictly customer service. He wants to sell 1,000 cars, and his big thing is, I don't want them to have no problems. So all of us are paid hourly. We don't do flat rate. We don't do anything like that. And this is one of the few shops where I'm not top dog. I mean, I'm in the middle of the pack, and that's how good a talent some of these guys are. Like, some of them are just insane. Like, it's kind of nice because if I got a question, I can ask somebody. So when I get stumped, the shop isn't stumped. We have somebody there that can figure it out. So that's really, really nice, just having somebody that can help me out when I get stumped. So
exactly.
That's something new for me too. So
right.
I used to be in one of the main diag techs at places or something like that. And then to have somebody else is pretty nice.
Exactly.
It takes a big weight off your shoulders.
As far as like systems that you use for information, are you guys using like all that? Are you using ShopKey? What type of systems are you using?
Right now it's Mitchell and Identifix.
Yep. Yep.
Because a lot of the guys come from the dealership, so they're used to the dealer info. So on Identifix, they can get all the dealer info, so you don't have to worry about the Mitchell or All Data. Or I think we're probably going to end up getting All Data also for a couple of the guys. I'm more All Data than I am Mitchell, but I'm more Identifix than probably all of them.
Exactly.
So that's kind of nice. For me, I use Identifix for just about everything. Some of the simple things, like starters and alternators, are not like they used to be. It's not just,
No.
I got power, I got ground. No, there's 5-volt, 10-volt, a lot of things you got to look at. And with Identifix, I can go in and just type in the vehicle and type, I know it needs an alternator, but I need to prove it and prove that the wires are good before I go throwing on a $700 alternator, or crap, we just put a insert auto parts name here alternator,
Right.
and now it doesn't, the charge light's on. So, oh crap, did I misdiagnose it, or is it just a bad part?
Exactly.
So
Yeah. Is it a bad unit that I've got my hands on here? And that kind of thing. Because there's
third
quite a
one,
bit of that, it seems like, also happening in the industry now. It's the parts are not what they used to be. You get them and you have an issue. Like I've seen some come just recently, probably in the last 6 months, that showed up and it was actually on an alternator, and the box looked like it came out of Ace Ventura. It looks like someone absolutely beat that box's ass, right? And you get it and you open it up and you're like, the thing's got broken fins in, the cooling fins in it, and the alternator on the outside kit were broke. It's like, how did that even happen? Or the mounting, where the plug-in plugs in, sometimes they stick out a little bit, the ear will stick out. That thing's broke off. And you might be able to plug the plug still on it, but you can't make it, it doesn't lock. So it's like you can't use it. I've seen that myself in different parts. Plus, like you said, a lot of this stuff now is pulse width modulated. It doesn't just have voltage to it, or the computer doesn't just turn it on; it turns it on and off a whole bunch. So yeah, it's definitely difficult.
and weird
Are you
voltage.
familiar with Was it Diag.net by Scott Brown?
I've heard of it.
Yeah.
I really haven't done a thought. I mean, I was original IATN guy
Yeah.
back in the day, but even then, you didn't have great internet, so
Sure.
I never really got to play on there much. I used it for, the waveform library post. I'm looking for this waveform. Like, oh, cool, I got one of them. I'll go put that on there or look it up and see what it is. So that was handy back in the day.
Right.
That was real handy, actually.
That's something I try to teach students too. It's like, don't necessarily rely upon all the waveform libraries that are out there. It's like, get yourself a cheap scope, even if it's cheap, just get one and start building your own. Start building your own, known good. Like if a vehicle comes in, you're not necessarily going to hurt anything by testing something. So test it, get what it is, put down what EPA it is and all that kind of thing, and get it down on paper somewhere so you have it later. Later in life. It's like you can do that. You have the time usually that you can do it. And it's good to have, I teach them how to get onto the Pico scope, known good waveform library and that kind of thing. But I always explain to them also, just because you've seen it on a scope doesn't mean it's good or bad. You have to go match it up to that known good waveform. Don't just allow your experience or anything else. Don't let that be the thing that says, oh yeah, now I know it's bad. Because I tell them, scope sometimes can actually make you a worse technician in that sense, because I used a scope on it and now I know. And it's like, you didn't know, So I've watched it happen. I've done it's happened to me. I've done the same thing, especially when I first started dealing with scopes in 2002, 2003.
Yep.
It's like, oh yeah, I know exactly what I'm doing. It's like, no, you still don't know exactly what you're doing. You should continue, learning on that. And I guarantee I've called parts that were definitely not wrong, not bad. And at the end of the day, it's like, oh, okay, I messed up. And you have to chalk it up for education. I'm sure I've had to probably buy some parts at some point because of that kind of thing, right? You think you got this big tool and that's going to be the thing that's going to save you. And it's like, no, you just don't know how to use it.
Yeah,
So,
I remember, I think it was an inductive kick. Like, ooh, look at that right there. Like, oh, yep, that's bad. Look, it's not a straight line. Look how horrible that is. Like, oh no, that's normal. Or pencil bump back on the old Bosch.
Exactly.
Multex. Like, oh man, I screwed that one up. Like, oh, I thought I was doing good, and just simple things I didn't know.
Exactly.
Yeah. Or you go to a class and these guys showing you, a nice Nissan injector, and then you go home and you're looking at old crappy TBI Chevy injectors and you go, oh, look how bad that is.
Yeah,
Or you
peak and
go,
hold.
one of the big things back in the day was always fuel pump speed. So
Yes,
you'd always hook a lab scope up, look for the good comms. And the first time you do a Toyota, you're like 12, like that's something 12 com pump, like something's wrong. Like it's running way too slow, but
exactly.
you never go bad. Like, sorry, if you hook up a Toyota and you got no fuel pressure, you probably got a bad gauge.
Yeah,
TPIs,
exactly.
yeah, you could do that. I don't know how many fuel pumps I sold strictly off waveforms back in the day, and it's like it came in running, but it's probably going to go bad. So I just didn't know. But lab scopes were cool, but you could definitely get in over your head real quick.
Exactly. So speaking of that kind of thing and getting deeper and deeper into the automotive industry, how long do you feel like it should take somebody once they get into the industry, they get their kind of their feet wet, they get their feet under them, and then they start working on stuff pretty much day in and day out? How long do you feel like it should take someone to get to be a master level technician?
In my opinion, I think it could be as quick as like 3 or 4 years. There's the if you're
Right.
Scanner Danner in it, your John Thornton classes, you're
Sure.
watching a couple YouTube videos. You're not just going on Identifix and go, oh, what is it? Yep, it's crank sensor,
Exactly.
most common failed part once you learn. But typically 5 to 7 years before I would consider most people like a diag guy. It took me, I thought I was good because I did things the hard way back in the day. And it probably
Exactly.
took me a good 7 years before I really started understanding, the ignition scope. And when you're using it, you're going, oh, look, there's 8 patterns. That one don't look right. It's probably this cylinder, and you can see, all right, yeah, they're probably an ignition wire or spark plug or something like that, or 4 out of the 8. Well, one side of the carburetor is probably not working right.
Exactly.
But you don't know, but you kind of guessed at it. Like you said, it's a little hard to figure that out when you're young and stuff. So you make a lot
Exactly.
of mistakes. Most of my
I get that
diagnostics is actually scan tool. I use a scan tool for most things where I don't
quite a bit.
hardly ever pull out a lab scope for stuff. Most of my stuff is scan data, and some of it's, I've been here, done that. I know when I drive it, a lean pop. I know an ignition misfire. Like today was a misfire on a Toyota Camry.
Mm-hmm.
Simple, basic, old school. I already changed the plug, already changed the wire. All I had to do was start it up, put it in gear, foot brake it a little bit. Pop, 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 pop. Yep, ignition misfire. I know what that is. Pull the plug out. Yep, it's bad. 10-second diagnostics. But
Exactly.
that's also 30 years to get that 10 seconds.
Exactly.
So, but
Yeah,
I got to have a cool little teaching moment, show them like, okay, hey, here's carbon tracking, this right here. We replaced this, but, it was when the customer replaced his own. So that was kind of nice. I felt kind of good. So
exactly. I've had the same question before as a reason I wanted to ask. And I've been trying to ask different guests that I've had on the same thing because, like you said, it's, are you fully immersed in it? Are you making sure, like you said, are you really feeding that passion to learn well enough, And it's like moving past all the other things. Like I tell students a bunch, like I didn't even like auto electrics when I first started. I hated them for like 5 years. I wanted nothing to do with it. And I was scared of it. Yeah. And I started when, just about probably the same time around when you did, like fuel injection was like the new big thing. And if you didn't know how to, like you said, go and diagnose that kind of thing, you were kind of stuck in the water. And I just kind of stayed away from it like the first 5 years. And once I got my feet wet with it and started to learn a little bit and got into some other different areas where I learned a bunch more, hands-on the job training, it was like, okay, I'm a little more comfortable with it now. And I tell them the same thing. It's like, how hard do you want it? How hard do you want to push for it? How hard are you willing to work for it? And I think 5 to 7 years is a good number. I think you can become a master on paper a lot faster. But I explained to them that doesn't necessarily mean that you're a master in the real world at that point, because it's a lot of experience that has to come with that. And I tell them, I'm still learning myself. Like I'm teaching you, but I'm still learning because I'm driving at it every day, trying to find out more and better things to be able to teach, better, even just the techniques, making sure that I'm learning about new techniques and new things that are out there. I think BMW uses like augmented reality, to work on different things. And you say that to somebody in the regular world and they're like, they do what? Yeah, that's what they do, and that's how they teach. Not only that, it's like the cost that you're actually saving in mock-up engines and taking things apart, putting them back together and having stuff just wear out from doing that. Like, why wouldn't you do it that way? And I tell them the same thing. It's about 5 to 7 years. I think you can get your feet underneath of you in the industry, especially now when, like you were mentioning, computers come along. A lot of technology has a huge impact on our industry, especially not just with our technological advances on the vehicles, but also in the information services, the way that you can get information now, how readily available it is. I like to joke with them and tell them, when I started, there were books. That was it. There was no internet. There was no phones, no flip phones, not even. And we went from that to all of a sudden you could do CD-ROM, and then it was DVD-ROMs, and we got paid once a month to update our own computers. The boss would pay us to make sure that they were updated when the disc came in the snail mail.
7 discs in.
Yeah, all 27 discs, right? And it'd take hours.
Download that one.
Yeah, it would take hours during the day to make sure that thing was updated. And now,
get info.
Yeah,
you can't.
And now we're to the point where your TSBs are downloaded daily. You can get a TSB now that tomorrow it could be different. So I like to show that and tell that to them. Like, I got to, and you'll probably feel the same way. I got to go into the industry at a really interesting time. I get to teach it now and still an interesting time. And I got to watch the advent and the implementation of fuel injection all the way up through now GDI for gasoline. And it's amazing. It's an amazing thing. I got to rebuild carburetors when I first started, and now I'm teaching GDI in a school somewhere. And it blows. I'm not, I don't take it for granted. I'm not at a loss for it, because it's just amazing to me that the technology has moved that quickly.
Insanely fast. Like, you miss a couple years and you're out. Like, that was another thing. Like, you go from being a tech to a service writer, and then when you go back to being a tech, it's a whole new world. Like, I just spent the last year just basically working on antiques. Like, I didn't do fuel injection or anything. Like, I rebuilt carburetors daily. That was my job. So now I'm back in the mix, with this new building, and it's like, oh crap, I'm back in the game. And it's like, wow, there's some new stuff come out that I didn't remember, and there's differences in shops, because when I owned my shop, we were typically 7 to 9 years behind. And then the shop I went after that, they were like 3 or 4 years. So I had 5 years there that I didn't know anything about. It was like, oh crap, I have to learn all this. So that makes it kind of tough. But on the training thing, I also tell people, you don't have to be a diag tech if that's not your passion. Like,
exactly.
I think, like, everybody labels ABC tech. Like, I know a couple of guys that do brakes and replace transmissions and engines. They're A-techs. Like, they should be getting paid just as much as any of the other guys, using their brain, because you make money by being fast or being smart. I started out because I was fast, and then I became smart. Now I'm kind of a slower, dumber combination of the two. So
exactly. It's easy to do. Like you said, it's funny you say that, because it seems like our experiences kind of have a little bit of a parallel, because I ended up in management, and that was kind of my trajectory that I tried to get into, because I knew that I wouldn't necessarily last forever doing that particular job, and I didn't necessarily want to. I would like to move on up. And as I started to do that, like, I was out of actually wrenching on vehicles for about 5 to 7 years, almost exactly the same. And once COVID hit, and I ended up back in the industry and doing the actual work of it, and, utilizing the tools that I had learned in other positions, service director, service manager, that kind of thing, and writer, it's like, I needed to go get some more training. And I had actually reached out to HEG and went and got training through them in Akron, Ohio. And it was a, kind of a reintroduction to diagnostics and that kind of thing. And it was more of a refresher course, but I don't feel bad about spending the $300 or $400 on it with, a hotel room and whatnot. I was able to take my wife to go with me. We went there and we hung out. We did some things in Akron while we were there. It was a 2-day course, which I think is it's a good mix between, the 2 and then the 5-day. especially if it's a long course, which I think the one I took was about 6 or 8 hours a clip. So 2 days of that. It was good. You know, I got to learn some new things, and also I got to brush up on what I maybe had missed in that 5 to 7 years. So I think it's hugely important in our industry. And that kind of brings me over to this other question that you and I spoke a little bit before we actually hit record about the needs and some people pushing for actual licensing of the technician. There's some states that are in our country that do that type of thing. I know Michigan does that. There's some other ones that do it. Yeah.
Yep.
And I mean, I grew up in Ohio working on vehicles, and I started as an apprentice. I didn't have, for my own reasons, it was my fault, but I didn't have the opportunities to go to a school like I teach at now. And I was an apprentice. And in many cases, it seems like some of the things that people were posting would have been a barrier to entry for me to go into the industry. And I'm just wondering about how maybe you feel about that. And I've got my own ideas about it, but I'd like to hear what Jeremy has to say about it.
Me, I don't want almost pro freedom, I guess. I don't like the thought of regulation. When people say regulation, all I think of is California and that crap and garbage hole stuff that they got to deal with every day. I think it's too much. Should there be training? I think ASE is a great step, but unfortunately it's like the only thing we really have. So I think it should come back to more auto shops.
Yes.
As we're slowly getting rid of the grease monkey side or image that we have.
Right.
And cars are getting more technical, and auto shops are starting to not put engine blocks and blocks of wood on them for coffee tables.
Exactly.
It looks nicer. Women are at the shops more. I think as time goes on, I think that's slowly changing our industry. So I think that's going to start bringing them back to schools. And it's what we really need. We need kids with more options, because college isn't for everyone.
Exactly. I totally agree with
college, that. But it's not. I don't think I could go to Indiana University for 4 years. Just not me. So hands on. Heck yeah, just 7:30 in the morning till 9 o'clock at night. I was there. I loved it. We did all that. I doubled up on all my classes. That was fun for me. But I don't think regulation is the way to go.
Well, and
the government's never done really anything that great for all of us. So, they
and that seems to me to be probably the greatest argument against it, right? Is that exactly what you just brought up? And I brought this point up, and I was telling my wife before we actually was able to get on, because this had just kind of popped up like in my feed on Facebook, and I'm like, yeah, I understand where people want to have it done, and I understand where they're coming from, and I think their heart's in the right place. I even made that post. But I think that the focus of all of that, the energies, is exactly what you said. It needs to be pushed more towards the actual public school, the schools, the privatized schools. It needs to be pushed more towards the training aspect of it, as opposed to moving it towards the regulation side of it, or what I like to call like the tyrannical side of it. And the point I made was, we've had the 10 Commandments now for thousands of years, and those are the laws, and we know what the punishments are for them. And it's like, people still do the things that they do. So I feel like I would much rather have somebody who is trained well, and maybe not necessarily even certified, but trained well and can fix the vehicle, as opposed to having a stack of certifications that maybe they're really great at taking tests and not so great at fixing the cars. And I think that's kind of where I am too. I've seen, CARB, California Air Resource Board, has been around longer than possibly I've been alive. I can't remember. I know it's somewhere in the 70s is when all this started to happen. And for me, like you said, just watching what they've done, there's been some benefits to doing some emissions work. I'll be the first to admit. But on the other hand, it's like all the different regulation that comes into it, it has driven the price of vehicles up to the point, and helped to drive it up. I can't say that's the only thing, but it's driven them up to the point now where people can't even afford to buy a new vehicle. Yeah. I know that I couldn't go out right now and go buy a new vehicle and feel good about that purchase, especially just because of the price of them. Even the used cars in some cases, like I think I paid $5,500 for a used car probably 7 years ago now. And now it has 282,000 miles on it. And I'm happy to drive it as long as I can get out of it because of that reason. And the regulation side of it, I just don't see trying to stop and penalize people for working on vehicles without a license to be the thing that's actually going to stop it. I think it's the education part of it. It's the training aspect of it. It's basically the public image of it. Like you said, as women come on and they come into the industry, I think it's a good thing because it needs to change more towards the side of we need to actually fix the vehicles, that kind of thing. Not, we're out there and the vehicle just can't be fixed anymore, and
Yeah.
the way that it's been going, the regulation side of it just does not seem like the place to put all of your energies.
Part of it for me is going to come down to they're not going to come across with any good regulations or set of rules. There's going to be some bull crap thrown in there, just like when Congress throws a law or throws a bill out there. It can't be 7 pages. It's got to be 1,000 pages with so much crap in there.
Yes.
Like my wife, in her industry, like the haircutting industry, in order to cut people's hair, you need 1,500 hours of classes. But
Exactly.
you can go out and tattoo something permanent on somebody's face or eyeball with no training whatsoever. It makes no sense.
Exactly
Some of the rules. Like my wife can she took a course on microblading eyebrows, but you can't put eyelashes on without 700 hours worth of training. Like, where's the regulate? It doesn't make any sense. And I have a feeling they would do the same thing for the automotive side. Like, some people can't take a test. Like, one of my old employees is one of the best mechanics I've ever seen, and he can't take a test. He just can't. So for him, that would be a barrier to entry for one of the best mechanics because he can't take a test. I passed all my ASEs and was master certified before I even got out of college because luckily I had 2 years experience before I even went. So I'm a 17 or 18-year-old kid, ASE Master certified. Would you have put me on half them cars? You'd be an idiot if you did. No way.
Exactly.
I'm a good test taker. I think if I sit down, I think I could probably pass 95% of every ASE test there is simply because I'm good at taking tests.
Exactly. And there's some people that's been able to do that. You can go be world class. I think you only have to get 23 of them. So you can go do all your trucks. You can do all your automotive and you only need like one more and you could be double master. And like you said, it comes down to the test taking skill. It doesn't necessarily mean it doesn't translate over to actual skill set. It's you're really good at paying attention to the questions, especially with ASE questions. You're really good at paying attention to them. You're really good at deciphering what it is exactly that they're trying to get to, that kind of thing. But I say the same thing. Like we offer the student ASEs 9 months at our school counts for 1 year for them to be out there. So they only have to have another year in order to go and, get their ASE, that kind of thing. But it's the same thing. Like I explained to them, having it is wonderful. That's great. And on the other side of it, like you said, I've worked with farm boys that could fix anything that didn't have a certification to their name. But I've also worked with guys who were ASE Master with L1 who couldn't diagnose a fart in the closet. And that's what I like to tell people. And it's funny, right? And we laugh about it, but it's sad. They get out into the industry and because you can get the credentials and you can show them, like you can get the job, but like I tell them, like getting the job and holding the job there's a gulf between that. And sometimes it's quite far. So that's kind of where I come down on it.
Yeah. And I think because they got it, they're worth so much more.
Right.
When I had my business in the early 2000s, I paid different bonuses. So I paid somebody an extra, I think it was 50 cents a ASE cert because it just shows, hey, you're at least trying to learn something. So, you can make couple bucks more, $4, $6 an hour more just for a test.
That's what a lot of places that I worked at, that's what their going rate was also. It was about 50 cents per test, per cert, per hour. Yeah. And nowadays it's like $1. Some places are $2 and I'm all for the technician, to a point, making as much money as possible. I think that our industry is definitely run behind on the inflationary part of it as far as what we charge. I don't think we charge quite enough in certain cases. Certainly with diagnosis, I mean, with the places that are trying to run free diag and all that kind of thing, it's like, that's not really the way to make your money. People need to be paid. And I used to try to explain to people behind the counter when I ran places, you don't go to your work and they don't expect you to work for a couple hours without getting paid. You would never want that. You would never actually accept that. So I can't ask my technician to go do the same thing that you would never do, right? And that's where I always come down on that part of it. It's like, no, I can't take away from having them like the training that the money that's spent on training every year. And especially like the dealership, I try to explain mom and pop shops, you may have trouble getting your training that you would like to get. Dealerships, because their floor plan is tied to it, they usually have to do it. They're made to do it. They have to have so many level 3 techs and level 2 techs and level 1 techs. So you're going to get more training when you go there to do that kind of thing. But I would always tell a customer, I had no problem with explaining it's an investment in what you're wanting to get done to your vehicle. And I can't just have my guy go and look at that vehicle and not get any type of reimbursement at all. The tooling costs too much now. It's not like, the training is cheap. Like I mentioned, there's gas bills, there's everything, all the overhead that goes into actually running the business, attorney fees, CPAs, all the other thing. You would be crazy to offer free diagnostic. And like I said, the inflationary part of it, we're way behind on what we actually charge, I feel like.
Yeah, it's definitely hard to hit your numbers and be a profitable business. That's why, most businesses that fail, they're not the big ones that are charging the most money and all this other stuff that, everybody says, oh, they're ripping people off. Well, you know what? In 10 years, the same 3 big guys are still there. All the little guys done went out of business because, they gave it away. Because that customer doesn't care once they leave. You got them free one time, they're going to come back for the free thing again. You got to be careful.
That's exactly it.
The big guys that charge, there's a reason they charge, because they're offering more, they're giving more. They're going to be here for you to get that warranted. When the guy goes out of business, you can't get that warranted. You're screwed because he's no longer here. So
that's exactly right. Yeah, and that's a good place to get to. And this will probably be my last question. I know we've been on for, looks like probably about an hour and a half to maybe 2 hours so far. And it's great. It's been great talking to you. I love doing this kind of thing. The flat rate thing, that's huge in our industry right now. And I've said it many times, and I'd say it again. I never made as much money as when I went to flat rate, but I was part of a good system. And then I don't take that for granted at all. Where do you fall down out, like how technicians actually do get paid by management? What do you feel is a really good system? Is it a flat rate? Is it like a salary plus? Is it an hourly, a straight hourly, that kind of thing?
Some of this comes down to your management style. Each shop is going to be a little bit different.
Exactly.
Probably a little bit off for what some people will think, but I think it's hourly. You pay them for every hour they're there, but it takes a decent manager to make sure that they're profitable. My shop was 120% efficient with all hourly guys. We didn't, like I said, we paid hourly. I paid a on-time bonus. So if you're on time and you didn't leave early, you could leave early if you wanted, but I wasn't super strict about it. But, you kept your lunch to an hour, you got an extra bump, which back then I think was $1, which is like $40 a week.
Exactly.
Paid for the ASE certification, so you could make another, $4-8 an hour. My guys on hourly, we were super efficient. We made a lot of money, and the guys made more at my shop hourly changing brakes than most of the Diag guys did at the dealership.
Exactly.
But on the same side, my shop also, now everybody's pushing for a 30%. That's what, you should be making 30%. I didn't know. I wasn't quite charging enough. So
exactly.
Luckily, all the training, but, we made typically 5%, which I was happy with. I got paid. I owned a job. My guys made stupid money, but I gave them bonuses based on nothing. Like, hey, here you go. For Christmas, I got guys back in the day, they were 55-inch TVs. They were $2,700. So that's what they got for a Christmas bonus. They weren't expecting it. Guys got vacations with the wife that they had to take off and the family. As you get the wife behind the shop, you're golden. You get the husband behind the shop. You make them go somewhere, because most of us, we don't take vacations. And we do.
Not at all.
It means we're spending all week at home fixing something around the house that we put off, or fixing cars or something like that. You don't actually go anywhere. I think technicians got to be the worst on the planet for actually taking a vacation other than working on something. Like, I don't think any of us ever relax. So
Exactly. Many such cases. You're exactly right. We don't. I didn't. I know that a lot of people that's in this industry do not
it's
take any
almost
vacation
forced.
at all.
And flat rate, it has its place. I don't like it. I think it's kind of dumb, but
Hmm.
again, I made insane amounts of money on flat rate because I'm really
Sure.
fast.
Yep.
So me, I could turn 80 hours a week and make a killing, but it doesn't work for a lot of places. And everybody says, oh, flat rate. Most of the time, if a shop has low efficiency, it's not the tech's fault. A lot of techs get blamed for, well, he's only turning me, 30 hours a week and I pay him for 40. Well, it's probably because your processes suck. Let's be honest. Suck. You're not getting the parts. You're not pre-selling it. You probably got no experience or no training in what to do, or you're listening to somebody telling you to do it this way. A lot of places use flat rate as a crutch because
Hmm.
they're just not good at their job. So I
I've
think a
seen it.
good shop ran well can pay their guys hourly with set expectations. And look, if the guy's going to constantly turn you 20 hours and you're paying him hourly, hey, it's not going to work out. Because if you're in a
Exactly.
shop and you got 6 guys turning you 50 hours a week and one guy is turning you 20, it's probably the guy turning 20. But if you got a shop where everybody's hourly and everybody's only turning 20, is it because you don't have enough work? Is it because
Exactly.
the processes? It's all about running lean these days. And these shops are trying to run with less service writers, less help up front, and more technicians because they're flat rate. It doesn't cost to fill the
Hmm.
bays.
No, don't at all.
So why fill the bays? Like, give your guys, I know it's only about 20% less efficient to give them 2 bays, but these guys are trying to be yes shops. Bring it in now, bring it in now. But these guys have 1 bay and then they're stopping, they're interrupting, they're having comebacks, they're having all these problems. And the technician's trying to bang it out because he's flat rate because he's got 2 other cars behind it. Maybe the fix isn't 30%. Maybe the shop owner should be focused on 20%,
Exactly.
increasing the efficiencies. Hire another guy up front so the technicians ain't waiting as long. There's
True.
so many things. Like the shop I'm at now, everybody's hourly. So it doesn't matter what you get handed. Okay, no problem. I'm hourly. It doesn't matter. You're
Exactly.
not out trying to beat the book time. If it takes you an extra 5
And
minutes to clean something up, you take the 5 minutes.
exactly.
Perfect.
And it takes a lot of the cutthroat part of it, out of, like you're saying, because I've worked on both sides of all of it. I've
Oh, yeah.
worked, tier work where you got, if you turn so many hours, you got an extra bump, $2 or $3 on the hour. Same thing. And, I've seen it in all different ways. But the dog eat dog part of it, where it's like the flat rate. I mean, I've literally like seen fights,
Oh,
seen
yeah.
fights amongst guys in the shop. Like, no, I'm taking that ticket, right? No, I'm
I'm one of
taking
them
that ticket.
guys.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because I want to feed my family too, right? I'm the same
Yeah.
way. So
Like
it's like,
I don't care.
but the
I'm using 5
hourly,
days.
right, and the hourly aspect of it does change the dynamics quite a bit, like you're saying. And I've seen, like, when I was a store manager when I was like 24, 25 years old. So that was a slight difference in the way that things usually ran, right? Usually your 23 to 24-year-old guy was not the guy that was running the shop. But I worked really hard, and I got myself into a position where I was able to, interview for that position at the same place I was a technician at. So that was a different dynamic, working with the guys and being able to be manager over the guys that were peers at one point. That was kind of strange, especially being that young. But I remember, like, we didn't charge on parts. We didn't charge less than 50% for anything, like
Yeah.
anything at all. The only thing we did, that was a difference on that was tires. Tires we had to be extremely competitive on because we were down the street from a tire discount and a discount tire. So, that was 18% even. So that wasn't like it was really, really bad, but it still wasn't great. It wasn't 50%. And if we did anything, if it was a dealership part, like, you had your dealership cost, and then you had like a 15% margin built into it.
Yeah, you had
We
10,
charged 65%. If we had to buy it from a dealer, it was a factory component. We charged 65%. And
Wow.
no one ever had an issue. And our hourly, I'm pretty sure that our hourly for most of everything there was customer pay. Of course, there was not a lot of warranty stuff. Napa took care of us on anything that was warranty. I think our rate was like $100 an hour. So, and most guys there made at the time, 2017 and $25 an hour. So still underneath the 25% rule that, no one ever knows about until you get on the other side of the counter in management. I couldn't believe the first time I heard that. I'm like, wait a minute, I was a technician for like 15 years. You're telling me that these places for 25%, they would never want to pay me over that of door rate? I was unbelievable. I was incensed. I was so angry. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. That's like that's a complete made up number unless you can show me numbers behind it of why it has to be 25%.
Yeah.
So it was strange, to learn that kind of thing. But I've seen it work. Like you said, it comes down to management. It comes down to opportunity being filled. It comes down to process and flow, like you said. And I've seen it work. I've seen it work everywhere. I've seen all different kinds. But honestly, the flat rate thing, it would be nice if they changed it. But honestly, between the manufacturer and the dealership, which is a completely incestuous relationship, it's not going to change.
It's not.
The manufacturer loves to pay it because they can just keep hacking away at it. I was on a podcast once with Ted Ings and the Fixed Ops Roundtable with a really great service manager lady from up in New York, and she worked for Honda. And she said, we had this wiring harness that, needed to be changed under warranty. And when they first started that campaign, it was about 8.2 hours to change that wiring harness. And within 3 months, it had been dropped and cut to 4 hours. And you had to take almost the entire interior out of the car to even do it. So she's like, and it makes perfect sense. Like, hey, some people probably wasn't running enough time on it. And they were, being really sloppy with the way that they were doing the job as far as the paperwork side of it. And all it did was open up an opening for the manufacturer to come in and just cut everyone's throat. And that does happen. People are like, oh, no, they would never do that. Sure they would. They're in it for money also. They're trying to, it's lean. Like you said, everything's got to be run lean. So I got a couple different solos that I'm going to end up doing about just different stories I've heard in the recent days about local dealerships working on our own students' vehicles. It was like way out of line. Another one went and got a job somewhere, and the day that he got there, they immediately cut $3 off the hour of what they told him he'd be making. And you got a guy that moved 9 hours away and 9 hours away from his family even too on the other side of it. And then he shows up and you've told him one number and it's going to be $3 less an hour.
I had that happen to me.
For what? Right?
Yeah.
Like why?
I lost $2,200 my final paycheck.
Yeah.
For something similar to that. Yeah.
Yes.
Sucks.
Yeah. It makes no sense, right? It's like, just treat the people the way that you should. If you tell them that you're going to give them a certain dollar amount when they get there, give them a certain dollar amount when they get there. And it just goes to, it actually makes me angry. I could probably, chew up nails and spit staples out about it. Because I was invested in this person. I'm the one that taught this person, right? Mm-hmm. And to see that happen, and the Jaded Mechanic, it's a great podcast name. It really is. Jeff, you're out there. I know it's an amazing podcast name because I feel that way when I have to tell students there's certain components inside the industry that you really need to watch out for. The red flag component, right? And you don't want to get yourself, and I don't ever want to send the wrong message to the students because there's tons of great things that are in this industry and you can make a lot of money doing those things, but you have to navigate the industry. It's not something that you just go out there and haphazardly jump into. And it's terrible when you see it happen to somebody that I get to teach for 12 weeks. Notice I said I get to, right? It's not like I have to. It's like I get to. I'm excited to go do it because I think it's an amazing opportunity for me. It's like a force multiplier. I'm able to go out and take the industry experience that I've got, and I'm able to actually instill it into those that are younger that's coming up through. And it's like one of the best things ever happened to me because I can actually take that industry experience and move it on into the future. It's a way for me to have some type of legacy, right? So to see someone do that to them, and it just pisses me off. It's like, wait a minute. If you told them one thing, why would you do that? And then, like I said, the other one was like, the guy ended up, it was a complete big mistake. The guy it was self-inflicted wound. And then he takes it to the dealer and they look at it and they're like, yeah, it has power and grounds. I'm like, there's no way it had powers and grounds. It didn't have a fuse. So that kind of stuff just goes through me when it comes to that part of the industry, Well,
we got charged an hour and a half to do a module on a Dodge that literally was on the seat and just plug it in and plug it. And then he didn't even put it back together. And he charged me an hour and a half plus.
Exactly.
the fee, and then we get there and the battery's dead because they left the freaking
Yes.
key on. It's like,
Oh man.
so
It only takes like this much pride, right? Just this much
a little
pride
bit.
to have
Like,
that
you
to
didn't
not
take the
happen.
keys. You didn't take the keys into the office. You left them in the truck with the key on. Like, the battery's dead. I can't get the key out. I'm trying to jump start it, and then I got to go back, put it all back together. Yeah. That's where the jaded mechanic name comes from. So between that and like another one I listen to, it's kind of a humor, but there's a hint of truth. It's the Flat Rate Tech podcast. Not something I throw young kids on but there's a lot of truth there. I mean, it's funny. It's funny.
I try to never take exactly. Yeah, you end up laughing at it. It's like I try to never take my own well-deserved and really hard worked for cynicism and try to push it off onto students, right? Because I don't think that's fair for them.
It doesn't help.
No, they gain too much cynicism early, right? And that's not a good way to go through life. So they need to earn that on their own. So I'd never try to do that to them, but I definitely try to let them know there's certain aspects and certain things that happen in the industry that you just, like I said, you have to watch out for.
Yeah, it's
navigated.
Yeah, as far as starting out in the industry, if you're not going to school or something like that, you're watching Scanner Danner, as bad as it is, a lot of times the dealership's the better option to start out. I mean, you're going to start kind of at the bottom, but hey, if you're going in like, hey, I'll start at the bottom, I'll be your oil change flunky, but I want to take every single class you guys offer, and you guys are going to pay for it as soon as you start. I don't care. You bump through them all and learn. They got great training. So you're not going to get paid crap. You better live at home, but you get good training and you learn what not to do and what to do. And that's a good way to start, because a lot of the aftermarkets, they don't do the greatest at training. So it's hard. We did the thing where we let the high school and like Wyotech and local Elkhart Career Center guys come in and work when they got off school as a work program, work release, or whatever you want to call it. But so we did that for a while. So it was nice kind of teaching kids and, but most places don't do that because it costs some money and it slows the guy down. But, that's what's going to make the difference, is getting involved and helping these kids.
Yeah. Some reinvestment, I think.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It's going to cost you a little bit. That's just the way it is. It's going to cost you a little bit. But are you wanting to build from the bottom, or you just want to wait for the next guy to show up? So
that's probably a great place right there to wrap it. And it's been absolutely amazing speaking with you this evening. It's been really good, Jeremy. I'm really happy to talk to people in the industry, especially people that's worked in it as long as you have. I appreciate the fact that you've put the hard work in over the years. And I just want to tell you that I do appreciate your time to come on today and just to share your story with everyone.
Yeah. Well, hopefully we get some more people coming into the industry, because boy, we need it. We need it bad.
Need it really bad.
Yeah. And one thing I've noticed, I absolutely love Jeff Compton and them. Like, I don't know, he's like my spirit animal, I guess. But if you go back and you listen to the beginning and you've noticed how his changes over time, it's almost, you can't almost call it the jaded mechanic anymore. Maybe the enlightened mechanic. I don't know. I'm just thinking, like, it's a little different podcast than it was. The guy he is loving the industry again. He's got a newfound love for it. So it's kind of neat when you listen to somebody like that, where you go from jaded to like, okay, yeah, this guy right here, he gets it. He understands. He's having fun with it. And then somebody like you having a podcast as a teacher, mentor. I love it. I love it. We need more of it.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. Like I said, it's actually reinvigorating for me too, because I just get to share with them some of the things, some of the funny stories, some of the stuff that's happened, over the years. And, that you get to go out there and you can put a full day's work in, hopefully get a full day's pay out of it. And you can be positively impactful upon other people's lives by fixing their second, most expensive investment that they have. It's their car, and their liberty, and then their safety. Like I mentioned with Coralie the other evening, it's like, there's a lot of stuff that comes back to that vehicle. It's tied to it.
Yep. And it's almost like another child.
Exactly. Like I said, it's been great.